Welcome to the Chosen Ones. Pay careful attention because when you hear good news about someone you sought to bury, it's the sound of your own empire crumbling. The Chosen One. Everyone is watching in astonishment as your life enters a new phase. Think about it. According to scientists, the human heart may miss a beat when exposed to a rapid shock. That's precisely what happened to the folks who had been planning against you for years when the good news broke. They weren't simply astonished. They were medically shaken. See, they felt they had the finale to your narrative all written. They envisioned you being stranded, permanently silenced. And here you are, not only standing, but flourishing. And it's causing them headaches. They can't just medicate away. The same thing they said would never happen to you has occurred. And let's be honest, it's funny. The same lips who derided you are now trying to construct phrases. This is not only a blessing for you. It's a statement, a cosmic pronouncement that their game has over. Your excellent news is a trumpet blast, a spotlight, and a final mark of truth that cannot be erased. And, ironically, the thing they dreaded the most was not your pain. It was your survival. They're shaking now that you've transformed survival into unmistakable triumph. You arose in full view of the world. Stay focused, because what we're about to reveal will show you why your breakthrough scares them more than any fight ever could. This is more than simply a victory. It's the realization that the game they designed around your demise has officially failed. And guess what? You warned them first. Number 1, your breakthrough destroyed their last illusion of power. Your breakthrough demolished their last illusion of power. For a long time, they persuaded themselves that they controlled your fate. They believed that if they whispered the appropriate falsehoods, blocked the proper chances, or played their cards in certain ways, they could keep you hooked. There was never actual control. It was all for show. The only thing they really had was an illusion. And the illusion worked as long as you were silent, unnoticed, or still battling. But as your excellent news leaked, everything they had created around that false feeling of control fell in an instant. When individuals live in illusions, they rely on others to believe in those illusions in order to exist. They were predicated on the notion that others perceived you as completed, commonplace, and incapable of progressing. It was their safety net. It gave them the ability to go about like they had control over your life, as if their ideas or judgments were valid. But as your blessing became apparent and your breakthrough became widely known, that illusion vanished. They can no longer tell the world you're nothing because your achievement demonstrates otherwise. This is why they are afraid. Your breakthrough did more than merely boost you. It revealed their emptiness. Everything they attempted to keep you little now seemed ineffective and meaningless. They can't rely on their old stories anymore since your promotion ripped their lives apart. It's one thing to silently develop in secret, which they may disregard. However, when the growth grows so loud, it affects everyone. They lose the sense of control they formerly had. And let's be honest, they never expected you to live, much less prosper. They believed that time was on their side, and that you would eventually break down forever. Instead, your win demonstrates that time has always worked for you, not them. That's what scares them. The understanding that the game finished the instant you awoke. Every mask they wore, every semblance of grandeur, has now broken. Your breakthrough drew the curtain back, revealing them for what they really are, helpless without the illusion. That is why your wonderful news came as a shock. It wasn't just about you winning. It was about them. Finally, I see the truth. They've been evading their control. Never existed. It was all a delusion. And it's over. Number 2, your success revealed their failure without you saying anything. Your accomplishment revealed their failure without you uttering a thing. That's the bit that gets to them the most. You didn't need to call them out. You didn't need to clap back. You didn't even need to defend yourself. The significance of your breakthrough shouted louder than any words you could have stated. It landed like a judgment. They hoped your silence would keep them safe, that you would slip away silently while they seemed to have everything under control. However, your triumph has inverted the script, and their failures can be seen all over the backdrop of your achievement. It is one thing to fail quietly. They may shrug it off, make excuses, and keep the illusion up. But when someone they sought to hide emerges in plain view, their reasons fail. Your positive news creates a clear line. While they were busy sabotaging, chatting, and planning, You were developing resilience, and now the results demonstrate that every blessing you've received is evidence that their plans not only failed, but also wasted their time. They could have worked on themselves, but they chose to make you their project. That project flopped. What's interesting is that your accomplishment did not need their approval, connections, or even acknowledgement. It occurred despite their attempts, which highlights their own lack of progress. When everyone is battling, it's easy to feel safe, but when one individual breaks through, it reveals that the others have remained stationary. Your tale leaves them no space to hide. Their failure extends beyond what they were unable to accomplish. It is in the fact that they attempted to obstruct someone else's path, but were unable to prevent the consequence. Now, every celebration of your accomplishment serves as a reminder of their incapacity to deliver on their own life. They can't twist it since your success isn't based on shortcuts, manipulation, or deceit. It is solid. When something is solid, hollow objects seem much more hollow. That's what scares them. Your excellent news doesn't just crown you. It reveals them without you saying a word. The contrast between your success and their stagnation is clear. You become the evidence. They never wanted to recognize that while they were busy sabotaging your future, they failed to protect theirs. Number 3, they're afraid because you're the winner. This demonstrates that they squandered years attempting to stop you. They're afraid because your victory reveals they squandered years attempting to stop you. That's the most intense sting of all. All of their work and effort went into keeping you stuck. All those late-night brainstorming sessions and unending drama. It was all for naught. Your breakthrough demonstrated that nothing they did was effective in the long term. That fact is awful for them, because it does not just demonstrate that you rose. It demonstrates that their whole plan was ineffective. People who devote their lives to ruining others believe that their plans are important. They deceive themselves into believing that the more they assault, the more control they get. But the instant you walked into triumph, it broke the fantasy. Years of gossip, treachery, sabotage, and manipulation suddenly seem like a lousy investment. They wasted valuable time pursuing your demise instead of constructing their own foundation. And now you've ascended, leaving them with nothing except the pain of squandered years. The scariest aspect for them is realizing that nothing they did could stop the inevitable. Every setback they caused simply made you stronger. Every loss they attempted to impose on you ended up sowing a seed of resilience, which bloomed into a gift. They believed they were slowing you down, but they were really speeding up your preparedness. This is the type of irony that keeps them up at night. Your wonderful news now sounds like a loud declaration that their time, energy, and even relationships, which they damaged in order to harm you, were in vain. They bet everything on the premise that you would remain trapped, and they lost. There are no refunds for years squandered. There is no reset button. Their loss is not limited to your rising. It's in the fact that they'll never recoup the time they spent attempting to keep you down. And this is why they are afraid. Because time is one thing that cannot be replaced. Your blessing is revealed. Not only did they fail to stop you, but they also failed to manage their own time effectively. They were emptied while you were being formed. Your success serves as a reminder to them that all of their efforts against you were futile, and the years they squandered are now lost forever. Number 4, your promotion renders their justifications outdated. Your promotion renders their justifications outdated. For a long time, they were content to blame their slow development on life, circumstances, or other people. Life isn't fair. The system is rigged. I didn't have the proper support. These became their shields and safety blankets. They fabricated themselves a narrative to get some sleep at night. But your breakthrough exposed their justifications since you didn't suffer the same challenges. They were heavy on you. You did not merely face setbacks. You were purposely targeted. Nonetheless, you climbed. This fact alone causes their story to crumble under its own weight. The disparity is what makes them the most nervous. They can no longer say it couldn't be done when you're live proof that it can. Your success highlights their stagnation, and suddenly life seems unjust. Doesn't sound as convincing now. You demonstrate that perseverance does more than simply withstand injustice. It changes it. Now, when they grasp for an excuse, it does not land. They collapse in their own hands because everyone knows the truth. The issue is not the globe. They refuse to battle through it. This is why your wonderful news hurts so much. It doesn't simply boost you, it exposes them. You've made apparent what they've tried so hard to keep concealed. Their sloth, refusal to go beyond their comfort and mediocrity. They were not waiting for a chance. They waited for someone else to fail. So their own lack of mobility did not seem as noticeable. And now you're glowing in a manner that no one can ignore. They're afraid because your rising destroys their final refuge. They can't call it impossible since you did it. They can't claim the odds are insurmountable since you defeated them. They can't argue they didn't know better since your narrative educates everyone. It was always important to keep an eye on your strength. No excuses. And that is the dagger. They realized they spent years fighting their stagnation, but you used those years to evolve into your destiny. Your elevation exposes them before the truth. The world never stood in their way. It was themselves. And now that you've provided evidence, their justifications don't seem so feeble. They don't exist anymore. Number 5, they understand that your narrative can no longer be erased. They understand that your narrative can no longer be erased. That's what has them agitated. Because for so long, they thrived on distortion. They presented their version of your life, portraying you as less than you hoped. People would never know the truth as long as your tale remained confidential. They had space to twist, water down, and discard it. However, your breakthrough has been public, and the testimony of what you endured cannot be concealed or changed. It's larger than memory. It's an unmistakable record. Your excellent news is not only a gift. It is evidence. It serves as evidence that you persevered, that you conquered, and that all they attempted to bury you under became the soil that generated your rising. Evidence cannot be contested. It either exists or not. And in your instance, it is clearly visible. They cannot dispute with the findings. They cannot undo the time. And they can't silence the witnesses who witnessed you at your lowest point and are now witnessing you at your peak. That permanency is their darkest dread. Your testimony has the potential to lock in the truth. Even if they were to tell another lie today, it wouldn't matter. Too many individuals are aware of how much has been exposed. What was previously whispered about you is now screamed as fact, and facts do not yield to manipulation. This is why your wonderful news upsets them. It's not just about your success. It's about how they can no longer modify your tale. They are afraid because your rise reveals their inability to stop you in real time. Now it will be remembered. History does not seek permission from liars. It retains the reality of what really occurred. And you've reached the point when your tale is about more than just you. It belongs to everyone who hears it and sees hope in it. That's what shakes people to the core. They cannot undo your survival. They can't take away your success. They cannot silence the facts. Your excellent news is eternally remembered. With each passing day, it becomes more firmly established. They formerly had the ability to influence perception, but that capacity is gone. The record has been written, and it is permanent. Number 6, they are terrified because your blessing does not need their consent. They are terrified because your blessing does not need their consent. For years, they moved as if they had the keys to your life, as if nothing could change for you until they gave it their okay. They liked the concept of becoming gatekeepers, deciding who climbs and who remains stuck. That delusion provided them a feeling of control. But your fantastic news broke that notion in an instant. Your benediction did not pass through their hands. It did not need their signatures or authentication. It came unaffected by their control, and the truth shook them to the core. What scares them the most is that your innovation evaded every mechanism they relied on. They felt their connections, networks, and social standing provided them an advantage. They felt they could pull strings, shut doors, and prevent you from pursuing certain chances. But your blessing comes from a source that cannot be bought, controlled, or lobbied. It comes straight from God, and no human gatekeepers can prevent it. When a door like this opens, it does not swing on human hinges. It's large, permanent, and untouchable. Your ascent reveals the flaws in the system they revered. It demonstrates that they never had true power over you, simply an appearance of access. They enjoyed making others feel as if success had to go through them. However, your testimony indicates otherwise. This is the bit that makes people anxious. Because if you can be blessed without their approval, so can anybody. and it removes the illusory power they've had over people for years. They're trapped watching you prosper in a zone they said you'd never reach. The saddest aspect is that they cannot claim credit for it. Your blessing is not related to their favor, introductions, or networks. It functions independently, a living demonstration that God does not need intermediaries to fulfill destiny, and that independence exposes them. They are afraid because your ascension demonstrates unequivocally that they were never gatekeepers, but rather pretenders protecting doors that did not belong to them in the first place. Your blessing bypasses their permission because it never needed it, and this awareness shatters their sense of power. Number 7. Your triumph closed every backdoor they had planned against you. Your triumph closed all backdoors. They have prepared against you for a long time. They moved with the assurance of those who believed they would always have another play. If one strategy failed, they had a backup. If one falsehood didn't work, they propagated another. If a single trap fails, they erected a new one. They believed that there was always a future time. There's always another way to turn things in their favor and keep you where they want you. However, your breakthrough smashed that door shut so fiercely that every escape route they relied on gone in an instant. Your triumph implies finality. It isn't simply a victory. It's a victory that cannot be reversed. They can't return to the drawing board since there isn't one left to play on. Your blessing has sealed, stamped, and locked the game. They're left with techniques that are no longer effective. That scares them because their feeling of power is always based on thinking they have one more move to make against you. There are no more moves. They misjudged the magnitude of the triumph you were about to achieve. They assumed it would be small enough for them to spin and operate. Instead, your breakthrough occurred in a manner that made everything permanent. It's the kind of change that cannot be reversed, questioned, or prevented once it has occurred. And it is the part that breaks them. They are looking at the finish of a game. They felt they could keep playing indefinitely. Every entrance they used to sneak through is now locked shut. The falsehoods are no longer effective. The traps won't function anymore. The individuals they formerly used against you have realized the truth and will no longer play along. Your win did not only uplift you, it dismantled the whole cycle of control on which they relied. They are afraid because your breakthrough implies eventual loss. No rematch. What? No reset. No, we'll grab them next time. It is over. The scariest aspect for them is knowing they'll spend the rest of their lives remembering that the game ended not when they expected, but when you rose. Your triumph sealed all back doors, and they are now permanently shut out. Number 8. Your positive news causes them to confront what they have done to you. Your positive news causes them to confront what they have done to you. For years, they sought solace in your troubles as long as you were down. They didn't have to worry about their part in breaking you. They might downplay their acts, laugh them off, or even believe you earned it. Your anguish provided cover. It calmed their conscience. But now that you've risen, the cover is gone. Your advancement is like a video reel, reliving every nasty remark, betrayal, and effort to demolish you. And it seems silly in the light of your accomplishment. The contrast is what matters most to each of them. When you were injured, they seemed strong, as if their harshness had weight. But your breakthrough dispelled that illusion. The things they used to giggle over now seem sad. The evil they perpetrated does not age well when the person they attempted to bury grows tall and flourishing in plain sight. Their acts are no longer presented as jokes, brilliant maneuvers, or just the way things are. They're portrayed as proof of their own frailty. Proof that they spent their time and energy pulling down someone they couldn't destroy. Your achievement shines like an unavoidable mirror. They may attempt to turn away, yet they can see you growing everywhere. And in that blooming, they are faced with themselves. They witness the unneeded harshness, the occasions when they might have given grace but instead chose venom. When somebody had an opportunity to assist but chose to injure. Your excellent news exposes their pettiness like nothing else. It does not just remind them of what they did. It demonstrates how meaningless it all was. The fact is that guilt is easier to overlook when the victim is depressed. However, as the one they attempted to shatter climbs higher than they ever imagined, the guilt becomes difficult to overcome. Your win intensifies their brutality. It amplifies. It takes away their excuses and compels them to face the fact that everything they've thrown at you has only shown their own emptiness. That is why your wonderful news upsets them so much. It is not just your climb that matters, but also the mirror it generates. And in that introspection, they are compelled to confront the irrefutable reality. They did not stop you. They are merely exposing themselves. Number 9. They are concerned that your testimony will encourage others. They are concerned that your testimony may encourage others. That is the true risk for them. Not only did you rise, but your ascent is now evident. This is proof that others can, too. Your triumph isn't a private one. It is infectious. People are observing how you overcame what was supposed to ruin you. And they're learning they're not imprisoned, either. The tale that formerly tied so many people was the myth that there is no way out. There's no hope of winning. No prospect for improvement is fading. Because your life suggests otherwise. They are terrified of the ripple effect. It is not just that you have been promoted. It's that your advancement causes others to reconsider everything they've been taught about boundaries. Systems of control, whether based on fear, deception, or intimidation, it only works if individuals think they cannot escape. However, your story is real proof that even the impossible can be overcome. You demonstrate that their regulations were never absolute, and that truth travels quicker than any myth they ever uttered. Your tale demolishes the bogus authority they relied on. They thrived on making others feel small, telling them that failure was inevitable and success was reserved for a select few. But now you're showing the world that persistence and faith can destroy even the most intricate traps. Their control seems to be slipping, since if one individual can do it, so can anybody. That is what shocks them. The concept that your triumph has become a template. The thing that hurts the most is that they can't control your impact. Testimonies tend to proliferate. A person's breakthrough inspires another's bravery. One survival tale inspires another to be more determined. Your excellent news is like a spark in the parched grass. It spreads whether they want it to or not. And no amount of suppressing, insulting, or discrediting will extinguish what has already been lit. This is why they're afraid. Because your testimony does not end with you. It shows that their power is limited. Their mechanisms are weak, and their threats are ineffective. What they dreaded the most is occurring. You aren't simply winning. You're also demonstrating others how to win. And when individuals discover they are not stuck, the whole control apparatus collapses. Your tale is larger than you, and that is precisely why it shakes them to the core. Number 10. Their jealousy is not about what you have. It's about what you've endured. Their jealousy is not about what you have. It's about what you've endured. People often believe that jealousy stems from goods, opportunity, or notoriety. But if you're honest, it goes far deeper. They don't merely dislike the gift in your possession. They detest the flames you had to go through to acquire it. Because they realize they couldn't have borne what you did. They would have shattered under half the weight you carried. What disturbs them is the fact that you not only survived, but emerged refined rather than destroyed. Your survival alone reveals their vulnerability. The most difficult pill for them to take is that your power was developed in the precise locations they said would kill you. They anticipated your sufferings to disfigure you, making you bitter, tiny, or permanently wounded. Instead, you emerged with clarity, resilience, and a depth that others cannot match. The disparity is what hurts. It's easy to envy material success, but what truly bothers them is that your benediction is laced with credibility. They can tell that it was won by perseverance, not shortcuts. They cannot reproduce that level of authenticity. No matter how much they pretend their envy shows a secret reality, they know they wouldn't have survived in your position. That's why your survival makes them uneasy. It reflects back to them the fragility they attempted to conceal while you were in the fire. They were paying attention, secretly pleased that it wasn't them. And now that you've emerged stronger, they feel vulnerable, because they know they could not have done it. This is why your blessing seems like a spotlight on their shortcomings. It's not the elevation that bothers them. The fact that the elevation tells a tale of survival undermines their explanations. They cannot claim you had it easier. They can't say you were given anything, and they can't minimize the storms you went through. All they have left is the harsh truth that you faced, what they could not do, and it exposes the flaws they strive so hard to conceal. Your survival is the most powerful aspect of your testimony. It conveys more than the benediction ever could. And this is what fuels their jealousy. Not what you got, but the fortitude it needed to stay here. You remind them that where they may have fallen, you soared. And the reality makes them uncomfortable every time they see you standing. A number. They realize that the spotlight on you will reveal their shadows. They realize that the spotlight on you will reveal their shadows. That is the source of their terror. Your excellent news is more than simply a celebration for you. It's about the attention that celebration garners. People who have established their lives in the shadows are more vulnerable to the effects of attention. They could operate easily while you were ignored, and no one paid you much attention. However, the light has now focused on you. And wherever light shines, shadows become evident. Their secrets, lifestyles, and roles in your misery are no longer as secure as they previously were. This is why they see your ascension as dangerous. It's not only that you've been blessed. It's as if your blessing is a stage light, drawing all attention to you. People are asking questions, paying attention, and connecting the connections. The more people hear your narrative, the more likely their secret acts will be exposed. They aren't afraid of your breakthrough. They're scared of what it may reveal. Your accomplishment does not occur in isolation. It has a backstory, and that backstory contains things they thought would remain buried. Every time your testimony spreads, it butts up against their carefully crafted image. They feign to be compassionate, to be innocent, and to project superiority. Yet everything begins to crumble when people know what you had to go through to get here. They can't stop people from thinking about the questions. If this individual has overcome so much, who put them through it? Who attempted to block them? Who stood in the way? That is the exposure they fear. They've always been more concerned with appearances than facts. And your brightness undermines their camouflage. The emergence of someone they attacked undermines their credibility because scarred achievement speaks louder than polished life. Your excellent news casts an uncontrollable light, and their shadows reveal them. They are afraid because they know exposure is unavoidable. Your breakthrough is more than simply a testimonial. It is a searchlight. And when that light shines on the truth, they will not be able to merely murmur. It will yell. That is why your ascension disturbs them so much. Your blessing did not just pull you higher. It brought their shadows into view. A number. They're afraid because they don't have a plan for your sincerity. They're afraid because they don't have a plan for your sincerity. For years, they prospered in the realm of manipulation, falsehoods, rumor, distortion, and half-truths, using their most powerful weapons. They constructed whole narratives around lies and were confident in their abilities to distort reality whenever necessary. However, your accomplishment is not a tale that can be manipulated. It's very raw and undeniable. That is why they are worried. They were ready to combat falsehoods with more lies. But when confronted with honesty, they are impotent. What makes authenticity so dangerous is that it does not need defense. To be credible, a fake triumph must be maintained, polished, and propped up at all times. However, your breakthrough stands on its own. It is clear from your stories and scars that you survived storms that should have killed you. Nobody can dispute with living, breathing proof, which frightens them since their normal techniques, gossip, defamation, and smokescreens, bounce off reality like stones against a brick wall. They never intended for someone like you, a person who refuses to wear a mask. In a society where appearance is everything, sincerity is disruptive. It cuts through the cacophony. Your ascension is so grounded in truth that it reveals everything around you. While they were curating appearances, you were creating something substantial. And their neatly planned lives suddenly seemed fragile in comparison to your own. That contrast makes them feel vulnerable, since your mere presence demonstrates that you don't need to lie to stand tall. People can detect genuineness. They recognize when something is real and are attracted to it. That is what makes your achievement even more perilous for those who rely on lies. They cannot compete with it. No amount of image-making, gossip, or pretense can overcome the gravitational pull of the genuine. And you're genuine. Your tale is unpolished but indisputable, and it is changing the way people see not just you, but also them. They are afraid because authenticity leaves them without weapons. Lies can defeat lies, but nothing can defeat the truth. Your breakthrough conveys reality in its purest form. That's why they're shaken. They have ran out of options since authenticity does not need defending. It shows everything else for what it really is. A number. Your excellent news exposes their reliance on your demise. Your excellent news exposes their reliance on your demise. The reality is, their confidence was never genuine. It was borrowed. They stood higher just because you were being pushed down. Their attitude of superiority did not stem from true success. It stemmed from comparison. As long as you were battling, they seemed substantial. As long as you were underneath them, they could point to you and say, "Look, I'm doing better than that." But your breakthrough pulled that measuring stick from their grasp. Their illusion of power is shattered now that you have ascended. What bothers them the most is recognizing how much of their identity is related to your struggle. They weren't as confident as they seemed. They relied on you being tiny to legitimize themselves. Your suffering gave them a platform. Your failures increased their feeling of significance. And now that those things are gone, they're rushing to figure out who they are. Without your struggle to depend on, you will ascend. They weren't prepared for the reality check that came when you were underneath them. Their significance was assured. They may feed off your tail, talk about your difficulties, and take solace in the disparity between your life and theirs. But as you ascended, the disparity narrowed and, in some instances, reversed. That move revealed exactly how fragile their confidence was. It was never based on true growth. It began with your repression. Your excellent news has flipped the tables. Every achievement you achieve emphasizes their lack of genuine growth on their end. Without your sorrow, the difference between themselves and their own stagnation is obvious. That is the silent fear they are experiencing when they realize they have never developed something viable for themselves. They were too preoccupied with your problems to focus on their own development. Your breakthrough does not only boost you, it exposes them. It demonstrates that their power was not power at all. It was dependence masquerading as power. And now that reliance has nothing to hold on to. They are left to their own devices if you do not fall. For many of them, it is the most dreadful place to be. Your ascent did not just raise you up. It left them vulnerable, unimportant, and impotent. In the absence of your struggles, number they are rattled since your triumph did not simply finish the game. It altered the regulations. They are rattled because your win did not simply finish the game. It altered the regulations. For years, they played with confidence, believing they knew the landscape. They knew the tactics, shortcuts, and manipulations, and they assumed that the system will always favor them. They saw you as a piece. They might relocate, restrict, and finally delete. However, when your breakthrough occurred, it was not an easy victory inside their framework. It demolished the building itself. It's as if they arrived equipped for chess. But you turned the tables and invented a whole new game. They do not know how to play. What frightens them is not simply that you ascended, but that you will rise and reveal the folly of their tactics. Every step they made in sabotage, delay, and slander operations was intended to function within a certain framework. But your win shown that the framework is no longer legitimate. You have shown that their authority was never absolute, only conditional. The environment changed, and the strategies they had depended on were ineffective. They're not just losing. They are irrelevant. Your victory changed the rules for everyone watching. It's shown that perseverance outperforms deception, faith outlasts plans, and honesty outshines illusion. Others are starting to see that the ancient laws of power and control were always an illusion. The most unsettling aspect is the rippling effect. Because once individuals understand how the game may be modified, their influence diminishes even more. You did not merely break free. You created the opportunity for others to do the same. This explains why they can't sleep. It is not just about you winning. It's about how their whole dominant structure no longer works. When confronted with someone who refuses to play by their rules, triumph is not the end. It's a fresh beginning that has altered the whole environment. They cannot replicate it. They have no control over it and cannot reverse it. And that powerlessness is what scares them the most. Your wonderful news is more than simply a win. It is a revolution. You did not simply checkmate them. You rendered the board itself outdated. The game in which they practiced, schemed, and flourished no longer existed. That is why they are deeply affected. Because when the rules change, the old players are rendered impotent. Your climb is more than simply a personal accomplishment. It's a seismic upheaval that goes well beyond anyone's expectations. Every breakthrough, every blessing, and every stride you've made has revealed illusions, destroyed false power, and altered the game's rules that were previously placed against you. They dreaded your success, but not because of what you had accomplished. It was about the truth being disclosed, shadows being exposed, and power crumbling before their eyes. Your survival, resilience, and genuineness have become unmistakable proof that nothing they attempted could stop you. This one did not only raise you, it demolished each backdoor. They relied on their perceived strength and drove themselves to confront their own frailty. It demonstrates how resilience surpasses excuses. Authenticity trumps falsehood, and survival bears a weight that envy cannot carry. Your story is no more private. It's permanent, irrefutable, and infectious. It motivates others, reveals the shallow underpinnings of their authority, and renders them weak in the face of your light. You did not just win a fight. You completely transformed the game. The systems, methods, and illusions that formerly dominated are no longer relevant because you refuse to be defined by them. Your climb is more than simply a victory. It is about change. It's a proclamation that they were never gatekeepers, that their plans were never really walls, and that human constraints cannot determine your fate. Now that the dust has settled, one thing is evident. Your positive news is unstoppable. Your tale is memorable, and your strength is obvious. They may attempt to cope, justify, or conceal, but the truth is already inscribed in every triumph you proclaim, every life you change, and every shadow your light casts. Your ascendancy is everlasting. Your testimony is infectious, and you totally own your destiny. Stand in it, enjoy it, and own it. The game is done for them, but this is simply the beginning for you. The world will witness. Nothing can prevent the truth from coming to light. What was earned? Your triumph is accomplished, and the narrative will last forever. If you receive this mail as intended, do not keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel today to keep informed on every discovery, breakthrough, and truth that others attempt to conceal. Hit the like button to demonstrate that your energy is aligned with this unstoppable movement. Leave a comment below. Share your experiences, successes, and insights because your voice is important and may spark someone else's breakthrough. Share this video widely. Allow the truth to ripple. Show people what is possible when they refuse to be held back. Every click, comment, and share increases the impact of this message. So join in, interact, and become a part of this irresistible movement. God bless you.